We have a lot to discuss on this Christmas episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast. Donald Trump's cover-up of the Epstein files gets worse by the day. The Department of Justice now says they miraculously found 1 million additional documents out of the prosecutor's office from the Southern District of New York. This follows the MeidasTouch expose, where we said there's probably about 1 million to 5 million documents in Southern District of New York, which have not even been produced to the Department of Justice yet. Literally within 12 hours of our report, the Department of Justice makes that post. We found more documents. We'll get into it all. We'll also talk about Donald Trump's deranged behavior on Christmas Day. He's posting over and over again 100 to 200 posts calling for former President Barack Obama to be prosecuted, complaining that the 2020 election was stolen. And it actually gets more deranged from there, if you can believe it. And then there was that, what you even want to call it, Donald Trump holding that press conference on Christmas Eve, where he told the little 8-year-old girl how cute and beautiful she sounds and must be. Donald Trump saying that they're there to stop the infiltration of Santa. Can't do anything normal at all there. And it's just an interesting observation right now that I think does not get enough attention is what's taking place internationally. I mean, a French general is echoing the sentiments of a lot of people in Europe right now, suggesting that the United States is now a systemic adversary of Europe. The United States is imposing sanctions on European officials. As Marco Rubio says, Europe is a censorship regime against the United States. So while you have Russians in Miami meeting with Trump's people in order to plot the surrender of Ukraine, they're not being sanctioned. In fact, the U.S. is removing sanctions from Russia. The U.S. is now imposing sanctions on Europe on the basis of free speech censorship. Only thing Europe's been involved in is protecting against consumer fraud and the type of rampant disinformation that MAGA wants to spread there. Remember, folks, authoritarianism is an international movement. Trump is a vessel the same way Orban and Putin and others are. We'll get into this and more here on the MeidasTouch Podcast. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. It's great to spend this Christmas with you and to give you an original podcast on Christmas. Brett and Jordy.
Merry Christmas, Meidas Mighty, and happy holidays to all. And thank you for spending this time with us. Honestly, it really means the world to us that on these holidays, you spend this time with us. We actually love doing these holiday shows. They're meaningful to us. We obviously love spending time as a family, and it's always nice to kind of be able to invite you into our family celebrations here. Jordy, what's the latest on your end?
Excited to get into today's show. You know, I heard Happy Kwanzaa, I heard Happy Hanukkah, I heard the Merry Christmas. Y'all left off Festivus. Festivus for the best of us, you know? You guys like my Christmas PJs, by the way?
The Christmas PJs are fly, Jay. What does it say? Does it say dump?
Just a lot of different basketball terminology. Jump.
Oh, it says jump.
Yeah.
I thought your shirt said dump on it. I was like, that's weird.
No, wrong, incorrect. Benji, where are we starting off with today, big bro?
Why don't we talk about the MeidasTouch report, where we said that there was likely at least 1.2 million records that had not been produced. And I'd like to say that we really dug deep in there. I mean, to some extent we did. We've been reviewing every single record that's been produced to date. But, you know, my experience as a litigator, having dealt in the past with massive document productions of terabytes of information in cases I handled where we would deal with 5, 10, 20 million documents in our cases, it was obvious to me that there had to be more than just a few 100,000 records or documents is what they're saying in the Epstein files. Just think about a financial record alone for a billionaire or for like billion-dollar transactions, right? Those records alone could be millions of pages, with each individual transaction having to be combed over by forensic accountants to determine if there's suspicious issues, and then suspicious activity reports are generated. So none of it ever made sense to me. And then I was reading the files and I came upon this file right here, where it is certain prosecutors emailing certain contractors who are likely involved in document review in connection with the Epstein and Ghislaine matters in 2020. So this is October 30th, 2020. Here's what this email said. It said, "Good afternoon, Ed." Again, it's from a prosecutor to a contractor who's involved in document review in 2020. And what are they doing in 2020? Well, by this time, Epstein had already died by alleged suicide. They were prepping the case against Ghislaine, and there were at least 10 other co-conspirators and maybe more who were involved. And we know the 10 additional co-conspirators, despite Kash Patel lying and saying there were no co-conspirators, because in other records that were produced, it says from the Southern District of New York Prosecutor's Office, it says, of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been identified here, 2 are there, 1's here, 3 we haven't been able to locate yet. So there are at least 10 conspirators.
I just want you to think about this for a second, Ben and Jordy and Midas Mighty. Think about all the millions of documents that we know about now and this additional million documents. And then think back over the past few months when people like Kash Patel and Pam Bondi not only implied, but said directly that the only people involved in this entire scheme, the only ones, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and they got him. No other co-conspirators, nowhere else to look, no other people involved here, really. And you have millions and millions and millions of documents. And of course, as Ben said, we're learning that's total BS. And they knew it was BS. Kash Patel knew it was BS. And he lied to the American people and likely perjured himself in front of the American people during that congressional hearing, in my opinion.
Well, look, so by their own admission, which I'll explain in a little bit, the DOJ has never even reviewed or looked at any level these million plus documents. So how would you go to Congress and testify that you've reviewed the documents when you haven't? And this was not like some like super secret source that they found underneath, whatever. Like this was clearly in the Southern District of New York's possession and custody and control. It was the main documents that were part of the Epstein files, okay? And it says so here in this email that I uncovered, and then I put this out. MeidasTouch wrote stories about it, and then 12 hours later, the DOJ said we found it. So here's what the email said. Again, it's from the prosecutors to other prosecutors involved in document review dated October 30th, 2020. Following up on our earlier phone conversation, a hard drive with the following production is being sent to SDNY via FedEx with the following production in the US v. Epstein workspace. And then they have the prefix. We call them Bates numbers in the legal practice, but SDNY PROD, so Southern District of New York. That's the prosecutor's office in New York, the Southern District of New York. They're the ones who prosecuted Epstein and Ghislaine. Then Epstein died by suicide, or allegedly before his prosecution actually took place. 008, 009, 0010, 0011. Note, this is a 6-part production. 0012, 0013, 0014. The email goes on to say there are approximately 1.2 million records currently being imaged. The images will be available on Monday, November 2nd, 2020 at the earliest. The production of the records will begin as soon as the images are available in the workspace. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Thanks. This is something I'm very familiar with when they talk about US v. Epstein workspace. The workspace is the e-discovery, the electronic discovery platform where these documents are being uploaded on. That's why they're saying these records are being uploaded. They say 1.2 million records right here, but notice that it says PROD 008 to 0014. So one question I immediately have is, okay, what about 001 to 007? That clearly exists. You don't just start at 008. So that's why I go, there's probably a lot more than 1.2 million records. And then there could be production 0014 to 0050 for all we know. This is just one hard drive, right? I don't have the other emails, so I don't know the other hard drives, but I found this email and what I was able to review. So there may be 10 hard drives with more stuff like this. And this is just the workspace, the e-discovery involving electronic discovery of US v. Epstein. This is not US v. Ghislaine, and this is only in the Southern District of New York. So this isn't in the Southern District of Florida, where there was that sweetheart deal that Epstein entered in 07, 08 with Acosta, Trump's guy who became the labor secretary. So there's probably a whole lot of other documents there. And then even if you use that universe, that's just the criminal cases. What about all of the civil cases? What about the international stuff, the Virgin Islands stuff, the island, the St. James stuff? What about all of those cases? What about the cases against the banks? So between all of that stuff, to me, it's obvious that we're talking about at least 5 million records, not even documents. One record could potentially be 1,000 pages. So we could be talking about tens of millions of actual stuff here. And that's the analysis. That's how I get that. I want you to know I don't just like come up with these things. Like that's how I estimate that. And any litigator who's been involved in big document production cases would know that I'm saying is like so obviously true. In our profession, it would be like 1 + 1 = 2. Like it's not even it's not even like a whoa, I'm going out on a leap here. And then so the Department of Justice yesterday wrote the following. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern, just think about it, this is what they wrote on Christmas Eve. This is their message. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York and the FBI have informed the Department of Justice they have uncovered over 1 million more documents potentially related to Jeffrey Epstein's case. The DOJ has received these documents from SDNY and the FBI to review them for release in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, existing statutes, and judicial orders. We have lawyers working around the clock to review and make the legally required redactions to protect victims, and we will release the documents as soon as possible. Due to the mass volume of materials, this process may take a few more weeks. The department will continue to fully comply with federal law and President Trump's direction to release the files. So when we know that between March and July, there were 1,000 lawyers and FBI officials purportedly working on the Epstein files, we know that they were billing the taxpayers because we've seen through Jason Leopold at Bloomberg's great reporting that there were tens of thousands of overtime hours alone, yet alone the other hours, millions of dollars. So what were they doing with those millions of dollars? In document review, when I was a litigator handling document productions far bigger than this, I had a team. And for those litigators out there listening, they'll be like, yeah, I absolutely get what you're saying, Ben. My team was 5 associates, and we'd be able to get through this in not like overnight. We'd be able to get through all of this easy 90 days, no problem. We'd load it on our workspace. We'd have keywords, search terms. The privilege would have notes about why it's privileged versus why it's not privileged. This was an easy production to do. What were those thousands of lawyers spending hundreds of thousands of hours doing? The first thing you would do in a situation like this, if you were, let's say, the main partner or the attorney general tasked with this, you know that you know where the universe is. I know where the universe is. Right? You know it's Southern District of New York. You know it's Southern District of Florida. You know the civil cases. So you create a list first. What are all of the cases, right? Then you put out a request to each of the people who run these offices because there's, and then you say, let me get them. So that's the process. But I will remind you that Maureen Comey was the lead prosecutor in the Southern District of New York against Epstein and Ghislaine, James Comey's daughter. She was a renowned prosecutor out there in Southern District of New York. She was fired by Donald Trump as part of Trump's retaliation and retribution many, many months ago. But there are still people that they clearly have a file where this stuff is kept, regardless of Maureen Comey being fired. So I just wanted to give you that inside perspective of how you'd go about this and why this is all just completely BS. And then I'll pass it to you, Brett, and sorry for hogging it. Democratic ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Garcia, credited the MeidasTouch reporting for breaking the story. He said new media organizations like MeidasTouch are critical to holding the administration accountable. Their reporting is making an impact after we uncovered this. And so it's an honor to uncover it. But, I wish I didn't have to use those skills to figure out that the executive branch is covering up a child sex trafficking ring.
Sometimes the biggest stories are staring you in the face, as was this one once we saw the document. And like if we were able to discover it here at the MeidasTouch Network, like they definitely should have known about these documents. It's very suspicious. And of course, now it's just going to be another couple of weeks. This is going to take a little longer than we anticipated to get these documents out there. They've been slow rolling this thing now for so long. And remember, everybody, back in February, first off, Donald Trump made this like one of his big campaign issues that he was going to release these files. And he was like the dog that caught the car. And once he got in, and once his own followers and everybody were demanding the release of the files based on his promise, all of a sudden it was excuse after excuse, lie after the next. And Pam Bondi in February said, I have the files, I have the client list, they are on my desk right now. I'm going to release them. Remember that? They were on her desk. Then all of a sudden vanished. They don't exist anymore. She says all of a sudden there is no client list. That doesn't exist anymore. Then she goes, they do the whole binder fiasco where they give the binders to the MAGA influencers from Twitter. And that was their strategy. And they released previously released information just with additional redactions, documents that we had already seen be released during the Biden administration, during the Ghislaine Maxwell court case. They tried to pass those off as if they were new documents. And then it was just lie after lie after lie, pulling teeth to try to get any of these documents released. Donald Trump refused to do it. And then all of a sudden, he starts calling it the Epstein hoax over and over again. Finally, it takes an act of Congress. It takes Congressman Ro Khanna and it takes Representative Thomas Massie, a Democrat and a Republican respectively, to come together to do a discharge petition because Mike Johnson refused to put a popular bill on the floor to release these files. Mike Johnson refused because he said he was worried about the effect it may have on the real victims, the men who were around Epstein when their names leak out. That's actually what Mike Johnson said. And then the discharge petition goes through, and here we are today. It's just been such a mess. This has been the worst handled situation. And the fact that this administration has the nerve to go out there still and tweet unironically that they are the most transparent administration in history is just so batshit crazy that even his own followers right now, every time they see that stuff, are like, no, you're not. This is appalling. And I know that I think it's honestly part of the reason why we see Donald Trump's approval collapsing the way that it has, because this issue in particular is one that is getting to his own base, including, survivors who voted for him. They've talked to other survivors. They've started to hear stories from other survivors about the Epstein files. And so all of this now is coming to fruition. And ironically, Donald Trump's attempt to hold back information on this issue to protect himself has actually caused more damage than he ever could have imagined.
1000%. And I guess it always comes down to the central ethos is that anytime this administration opens their mouth, anytime anyone from this administration opens their mouth, they're lying. And the American people feel that. And as you just laid out, Brett, even Trump's most loyal supporters are starting to feel that. And I guess my big question, Ben, for you, I'm interested in your perspective here. What is their ultimate outcome here for the Trump regime? Are they just trying to gaslight the American people so much that ultimately they think the American people will stop caring ignorantly? Or are they going to just distract, start wars, just do crazy things in order to force the issue to go away in their minds? This could get really destructive, in my opinion, in a very dangerous way.
Well, it is already, right? We've reached that point. Like when people go, we're in a constitutional crisis. I go, no, we're past the constitutional crisis point. We've got an authoritarian regime. And the question is, will we be able to remove that authoritarian regime as we head into the New Year's? I'm confident actually that the people will be able to, but it's like 1984, Jordy, perhaps even worse. 1984, the book on steroids, Orwell's book on steroids. They want you not to believe anything. Right. And so when you take, for example, the letter purportedly sent by Epstein to Larry Nassar, despite the fact that there's a lot of corroborating information that came out previously in internal emails that the Bureau of Prisons produced, that they found this letter at MCC at the prison where Epstein was, that it looked to be sent from Epstein, that it was sent out for handwriting analysis at an FBI lab. No one ever got what those results were that would help answer the question in 2020 if the handwriting analysis was done. You had Epstein allegedly saying to Nassar, if this is an authentic message, that they said that they liked young nubile girls and that the president likes them also that way. Were words to that effect. MeidasTouch was the first to report on that letter also. We've been the first to report on a lot of these things. And by the way, when I do this, it's not just for me to like spike the bubble. MeidasTouch this. I want to let you know as a community that while you have people like CBS bending the knee or entities bending the knee and not doing the work, a people powered network has the ability to be breaking the big stories here, like the Nassar story and all of these stories and the missing 1 million documents. So then the DOJ, their social media account, which is now being controlled by Trump, like Trump's White House is running the DOJ social media account. They're calling reporters dopes. You're a dope. It's a fake document. We were told to produce everything, so we were going to produce fake documents. Well, let's be very clear. The Trump regime's, as part of their cover-up, one of the things that they've always been saying to not turn over other documents, what have they always been saying, Jordy, Brett, and Meidas Mighty? We're going to focus on the credible documents. We want to put over credible information first. The credible info is what we're going to get produced. So if they believe it's a fake document, and just assume that it is fake, and I'm not convinced that it's fake, I want to see the laboratory results, the forensic analysis that was done in 2020, because that document's being concealed. But just even assume it's fake. Doesn't that make it worse that the regime's prioritizing putting out without context fake, not credible documents first to what? To torture the victims, to make the survivors suffer more. So your what you are turning over are the fabricated ones, and you're holding back the real ones. That's how you've interpreted the Epstein transparency. I think it makes it worse if you accept what they're saying is true. And Jordy, the point of all of this, though, is what they want to do is they want to assault the truth, and they want to wear people down so you don't know what's true or false. And in this chaos, Donald Trump can steal for himself and enrich himself and enrich his family. That's their end game. There is no end game to benefit the country. There is no end game to benefit institutions or democracy. Trump just wants to try to get as much money as he can, hoard it for his family, destroy the country, and get the hell out. Do you think Trump truly cares if America is strong in the future, if future generations prosper, if Russia takes over Europe? Do you think Trump truly cares about it? Of course he doesn't care about that. He cares about Trump. And Trump making money, that's it, and people are seeing that. All right, let's take our first quick break of the show. When we come back, we've got a lot to discuss. A reminder, check out MeidasPlus.com, MeidasPlus.com. That's where we've been breaking a lot of these stories, and those Meidas Plus Substack memberships have been a major help in our growth. Also, the YouTube memberships right here have been a major help in our growth. You could click join. One of the cool features, it's so easy to do on YouTube. You click join, and then you can gift as many memberships as you want to others here as well. Give them a gift of Christmas. Give some memberships today. Also, subscribe on audio. Just search Meidas Plus on audio podcast. All right, we'll be right back after our first quick break of the show. We've got a lot to discuss.
Feeling a little heavy, depleted, and off your routine after the holidays? Yeah, same here. That post-holiday slump is real. That's why I've been looking at Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet, which makes it easy to reset your body, habits, and energy heading into the new year. It works at the cellular level to rejuvenate you from within, supporting fat loss, glowing skin, and sharper focus. And with its simple, structured plan, you can build real momentum in just a few days. Prolon's fasting mimicking diet is a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes your body while keeping it in a fasting state. It's based on more than 2 decades of research, developed with USC's Longevity Institute, and backed by top US medical centers. Prolon has been shown to support fat-focused weight loss, energy, metabolic health, skin appearance, and more. Everything comes pre-packaged and ready to go. 5 boxes labeled by day, so there is zero guesswork, which honestly is a relief after a busy holiday. And 3 consecutive cycles of Prolon have been shown to reduce your biological age score by an average of 2.5 years and your waist circumference by 1.5 inches. I use this, and you should too. Just in time for the new year, Prolon is offering Meidas listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program for your post-holiday glow-up when you go to prolonlife.com/Meidas. That's PROLON life.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for 15% off. prolonlife.com/Meidas. When the holiday season rolls around, it feels like there's a party every weekend. All those sugary drinks add up. This season, I'm going to reach for Sol's out of office gummies instead. Same fun vibe, low in calories, and zero hangover. I've tried Sol's out of office gummies, and what I love is how easy they make it to unwind without overdoing it. I usually go for a lower dose when I just want to relax, feel a little lighter, and still wake up the next day feeling good. No groggy mornings, no missed workouts, no regret, just calm, relaxed vibes. And honestly, after years of dealing with hangovers and feeling off after drinking, this feels like such a better replacement. Sol is a wellness brand that believes feeling good should be fun and easy. Sol specializes in delicious hemp-derived THC and CBD products designed to boost your mood and help you unwind. Their best-selling out-of-office gummies were designed to provide a mild, relaxing buzz, boost your mood, enhance creativity, and relaxation. With 5 different strengths, you could tailor the dose to fit your vibe, from a gentle 1.5 milligram microdose to their newest 15 milligram gummy for a more elevated experience. And if you like their out-of-office gummies, try the new out-of-office beverage, a refreshing alcohol-free alternative that's perfect for winding down on the couch or socializing with friends. Sol also has a variety of products specifically designed to help you get a better night's rest, including their top-selling Sleepy Gummies, a fan favorite for deep restorative sleep. With wellness at the forefront, you can feel good about what you're putting in your body. All of Sol's products are made from organically farmed, USA-grown hemp and are vegan, gluten-free, low in sugar, and federally legal. Bring on the holiday cheer and treat yourself or someone you love to Sol this season. Right now, Sol is offering my audience 30% off your entire order. Just go to getsol.com and use the code Meidas. That's getsol.com, promo code Meidas, MEIDAS, for 30% off.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there is an exit survey, let them know we sent you a lot of great deals this holiday season. Benji, before I toss it back over to you, I really just wanted to say, these are probably my favorite episodes, these holiday episodes, because I think most folks think maybe we'll take a day off or do something and not actually show up for the show. We're here because we love you guys. And this really means the world to us that we could all experience this together on these holidays. It's been a long friggin' year. And I wouldn't want to be in this fight with anybody other than the Meidas Mighty. So thank you all for showing up tonight. Thank you all for listening. And all right, Benji, where to next?
I think one of the things also, though, is, I don't view this as a job. I don't view oh my God, I got to work today.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
I get to go on. I'm going to speak to Brett and Jordy anyway at some point today, right? We'll probably speak for 30 minutes. And we'll probably end up saying, oh, did you see what he just did? Can you believe that? We're going to have these conversations no matter what. And we love all of you who watch and listen to this. So to me, it's it's actually a great way to spend Christmas. I get to hang with my brothers and I get to hang with the MeidasTouch community. That's actually a fun thing for me. So people are like, oh, you're working. It actually doesn't feel like work. So I'll address that. Anyway, let me show you. Trump supporter Haley Robson, who's a survivor of Epstein. She was recently interviewed after this just disastrous Epstein file cover-up that was on top of the other cover-ups. And she's finally said she's done with Trump. She's done with MAGA Mike. She wants to see Trump thrown out and impeached. She wants MAGA Mike thrown out and impeached. Watch what she's got to say. Let's
talking about Trump, right? Just to be clear, in terms of pointing the finger,
yes.
Or having, yes, exactly. And
yes.
You said that before, that you have never heard anything to implicate him.
Exactly. It wasn't until I started meeting some of the other women from different countries and different states where I really started to hear their stories. And of course, as a survivor sister and going through what I went through, I do believe these girls. But at the end of the day, I am no longer supporting this administration. I redact any support I've ever given to him, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel. I am so disgusted with this administration. I think that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel both need to resign. And I would love to see number 47 get impeached over this. And I'm just waiting.
Should Pam Bondi be held in contempt, you think, for the release of
She
these
needs
files?
to be held more than in contempt. Absolutely.
Okay, Haley, stand.
So I do want to provide for anybody who was misled and brainwashed by Trump, even if they're making this realization now, an off-ramp. As hard as it is sometimes to be like, because I could go into it and be like, really, this wasn't a giveaway or that wasn't a giveaway and this wasn't a giveaway and that wasn't a giveaway. I do think that we can feel that way. Like nothing's going to change that. I could probably do 10 podcasts that last 10 hours each trying to go into that entire universe. I'm not sure if it's a productive exercise. We need to expand a coalition of people who care about empathy and truth and accountability and democracy. And so I'll take it wherever we could get it. And I think her sentiments are being echoed by a lot of people. I mean, look, even Marjorie Taylor Greene is out there, right, saying she's, she's done. So when you got Marjorie Taylor Greene out there saying she's done, you have a lot of these MAGA Republicans even retiring from Congress. To me, I just think rather than get distracted with our time in saying, really, I think it's kind of like, let's embrace people who have left him and let's get into accountability mode. I want to address one thing, Brett and Jordy, and I'll turn it to you. Every time I see, whether it's CNN or MS Now, by the way, state regime media doesn't even cover this stuff. Like, I don't even know if Fox has done an Epstein story, right? Their big story is some Oklahoma teacher who failed a student because the student didn't respond to the science project and answer the prompt, or I forget if it was science or what the topic was, but the student answered it by citing Bible verses. So the teacher.
No. Didn't even cite Bible verses, didn't even do proper citation. This was honestly the craziest story. And we could spend a whole podcast going through this crazy story that they did there. But she basically.
The way you did, Brett. I watched I'm like, all right, what the hell is this?
Brett's really.
Yeah. No. So this woman, a young woman in college, she wrote an essay for a high-level college course, and she wrote all about, transgender bad was basically the thesis of her paper. And rather than making a coherent argument to back up that thesis, she ended up just saying, the Bible says that transgenderism is evil. The Bible says the devil this, the Bible says, and didn't even cite like chapters of the Bible or verses of the Bible, just said the Bible said that. And when you actually also read the piece, it was written like a third grader wrote it. Because I read it. It was the worst written essay I have ever seen. And I could not believe this person was accepted to college, writing for a college, class. And the professor was like, I'm not giving you a bad grade because of your thesis and because I politically disagree with your thesis. The writing was horrific. You didn't cite any of your sources. You didn't do the assignment. And so now this is the case where Fox amplifies this person's story. The person does the circuit. They get invited to the Turning Point USA type events. They are heralded as some sort of celebrity because they stuck it to those woke professors who were trying to indoctrinate her, when in reality, she couldn't even do the basics of writing an essay at the lowest of collegiate levels with sourcing or any. It was horrible. It was like bad writing, bad. Sorry,
so pathetic, man. They're just such whiny assholes, and then they go around and they just play this like weirdo victim card. And
this is the strategy, though, right? You lose in your race, right? You do bad instead of actually internalizing it and say, how do I do better? You whine on Twitter, you whine on the internet, you hope you get the Fox invite, you try to become a MAGA celebrity, you try to make money off your grievances, and that becomes your entire personality. It's really what this whole right-wing ecosystem is fueled by at this point.
Losers. Yeah.
It's how you get
like up mean people, losers, evil, like just shitty losers. Excuse my language. Like, and as a society, it's been tolerated so much that it's like at some point you need to just stand up and say, this is not what strength looks like. This is not what compassion looks like.
Yeah, and not only tolerated, it's been elevated. There's an entire media ecosystem that elevates these people as if they are heroes, as if this is what you are supposed to do. And it's all ironic coming from the party that's supposedly all about pull yourself up by the own bootstraps. The second they get told you lost the race or you're failing that essay, they don't go, how could I do better? How could I be smarter? How could I swim fast? Whatever the issue is, they just whine. It's just like, it's just what they do.
Setting aside all of Donald Trump's connections to Epstein and the obvious question, which is when they were hanging out, when they were with 16-year-old girls, 17-year-old girls, 18-year-old girls, 19, 21, whatever, but sometimes as young as 14, at these events, okay? When they would go back to the house, Mar-a-Lago or whatever together, right? And they would all go back and there were girls that age hanging with men at the time, Trump and Epstein, who were in their late 40s, 50s. The obvious, what do you think was going on? What do you think that what do you think was happening there? But setting aside that, setting aside all of the the connections between Trump and Epstein and how Mar-a-Lago itself was used to recruit, was part of the sex trafficking ring, right? That's how Virginia Giuffre was recruited at Mar-a-Lago. CNN and MS Now, and these other networks, but there's been no evidence that Donald Trump was involved in anything. And then the guest often buys that premise. They're like, well, no, look. Donald Trump was found civilly liable for sexual assault. A federal jury heard a case involving Donald Trump sexually assaulting a woman, and the jury unanimously said, yes, he did it. Yes, he did it. And then Donald Trump sued ABC because Trump said it hurt his reputation by calling it rape when he was only found liable for using his fingers to sexually assault a woman. That was essentially Donald Trump's claim of why he was being defamed, because Stephanopoulos called it the R word. And Trump said that's not what it was, civilly liable for sexual assault. Trump did a defamation case based on that concept. We have the guy on audio saying that he would go to the beauty pageants. And by the way, we know these beauty pageants had girls as young as 14, as old as 28, but the general age was around 16 to 18 of these beauty pageant girls, some older, some younger. But Trump said, with these beauty pageants, I go in there and I look at them naked. I inspect them. I look up their body, and how he works to that effect. And you get to do it. You get to do it when you're
That was about Miss Teen USA. He said that. And then those were widely reported statements. And I also, I want to hone in for a second too, just on that Haley Robson clip that we played at the beginning of this segment, because she said something, and I'm not going to go into any sort of speculation about what she particularly meant by it, but I'll let the audience, and I'll just raise the point that she said. She said she supported the administration until the handling of this, but she also said that she spoke to her fellow survivor sisters and heard their stories, and she believes their stories. And so why would their stories necessarily make her change her opinion on Donald Trump? I'm just going to kind of throw that out there because I think she could have heard things from the other survivors potentially about interactions with Donald Trump. And I want to remind people too about this other documented party that we know about here at the MeidasTouch Network that's been reported. It was reported months ago. If you remember, there was a party at Mar-a-Lago. I believe it was in the early 90s. And it was a calendar girl competition with a swimsuit contest. And it was organized by this big Florida businessman at the time. And Donald Trump had him set up this party at Mar-a-Lago. And the businessman looked at the guest list for the party. Remember, there were all these girls from this swimsuit competition who were invited. And it was branded as a party with VIPs. This is going to be a party with these swimsuit girls and VIPs. And this Florida businessman looked at the guest list that Donald Trump had. And the only people on the list, aside from the models that were being sent to Mar-a-Lago for this party, were two people, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Just let that sink in for a second. I feel like people don't focus on this party enough. I mean, this is one of the craziest things. And the direct quote from the Florida businessman, and I will read it right now. He said, "You're telling me it's you and Epstein?" As in those are the only guests at this party that you were doing? It's just how do we skip over things like this?
Here's the thing too, let's not, when did all of people's minds go to mush? Or people were so afraid, corporate news being so afraid to report this. What do you think they were doing or intending to do? What do you think they were doing or intending to do? This isn't a difficult concept. It's a sickening concept. I think we don't like what the answer is, but what do you think was going to happen? Are we ridiculous? Come on. What are we talking about? The guy who says that when you're rich, you can grab women by their vaginas and they let you get away with it because rich guys, get away with it. And then when he was asked at a deposition about it, he goes, yeah, it's true. He goes, true. Fortunately or unfortunately, for millions of years, he has to come up with a year, millions of years. This is what rich guys would do. This is what you do. So let's just cut with the crap. Other than Jordy, what's the end game here? The end game, almost certainly, again, I'm giving you my opinion, though, of course, First Amendment protected speech, all this shows 100% First Amendment protected speech opinion, is there must be devastating information, and devastating beyond anybody's worst nightmares, right? Because it's beyond everybody's worst nightmares how the document production's been handled so far. So the only logical leap, the same way, the only conclusion you could reach, by the way, there's a legal concept for it. It's called an adverse inference. When somebody behaves this way in a litigation case, so let's say, Jordy, in those document productions, I catch a party. Like I'm suing a massive Ponzi scheme case, right? And there's 4 million documents. They've turned over 500,000. They hide the rest. Do you know what I get to tell the jury, Jordy and Brett and Midas Mighty, in a case like that? An adverse inference instruction. I get to say the reason that they're hiding it, and the judge will instruct you, is they're covering up their criminality. And then the jury finds them liable.
And think about other things they're hiding, right, Ben? Think about just like the most basic things. And this is why Trump's approach has been a complete and total disaster. Trump was like, yeah, I knew him. He knew everybody. We really weren't good friends. Well, we know you guys were like best friends. Like he called you like my best friend, Don. You guys were best friends. You said very nice things about him in public. You said very nice things about him to magazines. We know about the friendship. So like, why would you deny the part that people know about? He also denied ever going to Epstein's office. An assistant in one of the documents said that Donald Trump was at the office quite frequently. So why lie that you never went to the office? Donald Trump lived like, a half a mile away from him in Palm Beach. Donald Trump was at all these events with him, including the Victoria's Secret fashion shows and all these things. They had sat like right next to each other. And by the way, the guy who ran the Victoria's Secret fashion show was Les Wexner, who runs Limited Brands. And he is listed as one of the potential co-conspirators in the Epstein files in the documents. And so, and Donald Trump ran beauty pageants. He ran Miss Teen USA. He ran all these other beauty pageants. And we have exposed all that other footage from decades ago of Donald Trump leering at these young girls during these beauty pageants. Girls as young as 14, 15, 16. We've posted that footage online. It's all out there for you to see. Many of these model agencies that Donald Trump was connected with, and the folks that Donald Trump was connected with in this circle, like Jean-Luc Brunel and all these other people who were there, they were people who were also credibly accused of the same things that Epstein were accused of. Some of them met a very similar or the same fate as Epstein ultimately. So look at the circles, look at the documented proof, look at what people are saying. There was also that quote from the Epstein assistant, which was just like one of the grossest quotes that we saw, that said that Epstein would basically put Donald Trump on speakerphone and Trump would say like the grossest, most grotesque things, like speaking about girls' pubic hair and the length of the pubic hair and asking if you were able to floss your teeth with the pubic hair. I mean, these are all documented things, and people want to pretend just because they were friends. But Donald Trump is denying even the most basic things, and we're finding out all this stuff.
Yeah, and Donald Trump said he was never on Epstein's plane. Remember back in January 2024, Trump made a social media post, never been on the plane. And then Trump just says like everything's like AI. It's AI. I was never on the plane. Well, we know he was on the plane. There's also an email from the prosecutors, January 8th, 2020. For your situational awareness, wanted to let you know that the flight records we received yesterday reflect that Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than has previously been reported or that we were aware. Then there's Donald Trump denying that he sent Epstein a 50th anniversary, 50th birthday card, in his 50th birthday back in 2003 or 2000 or whatever it was. I mean, it's Trump's signature, it's Trump's handwriting.
And Ben, here's why the denials of something like the Larry Nassar letter, here's why Trump's lies come back to burn him. And here's why he shouldn't lie about things that are obviously true. Because that birthday letter, in my opinion, is obviously a real letter. It's Donald Trump's signature. It was in the birthday book that was released with other people. No one else is disputing their signatures in that book. Donald Trump is, of course, suing and he is denying it. But the fact that he would deny something that, in my opinion, is so obviously real and true, all of a sudden then when you start denying things that may or may not be true, like the Larry Nassar letter, you've lost all credibility. I don't know anymore. All I know is I cannot trust you. So I need to see what the actual investigative results are, what the actual, agents who worked on this case actually discovered about things. Because the word right now of Donald Trump, of Pam Bondi, of Kash Patel, of everyone else in this administration means absolutely zero.
Yeah. And then you look at their explanations that are obviously so false, and you're just like, you think we're stupid. Like, you just think we're stupid. Do we have this clip, Brett? I could go in any other area right now, but like, you have Howard Lutnick, Commerce Secretary. I'm not going to go on this whole tangent, but it does seem like the books were cooked as well on the GDP numbers, the same way that they claim they've brought down inflation, cherry picking numbers with the government shutdown to be like, oh, look, everything's going great. And lots of economists, again, are saying when it comes to the GDP numbers, they don't look right. Shouldn't shock you, because again, this is the same people who are saying that Donald Trump was never on the plane with Epstein. These are the people covering up a child sex trafficking ring, right? When you're willing to cover up a child sex trafficking ring, do you think they're willing to fudge the numbers of GDP by 1%, or 1.5%? Yeah. There's no depths to their depravity.
Covering up the child sex trafficking, that's okay. Covering up a bad GDP report, that's one step too far.
One step too far. We're not going to add an extra percentage point on that GDP. Why would they ever do such a thing like that? Because the people know they're suffering right now. Like, the people know the economy isn't good. You go outside, it's bad. The job market's horrible right now. Every metric is bad, but okay. So now they go, the GDP's third quarter increased 4.3%. And guess what? In the UK, it's 0.1%. Well, they probably are doing it accurate, number one, okay? They're probably giving the real numbers there. And then also you go through it again. He's like, that makes you 4.3% richer. We just made you 4.3% richer. Here, play this clip.
The 4.3 GDP growth beating it by a full point of 3.3. How does that affect our bottom line, our pocketbook issues?
So just think, the whole world out there in the third quarter, the United Kingdom grew 0.1, the European Union grew 0.4, and Japan fell 0.6%. Fell 0.6%. Donald Trump's economy grew, the United States of America, the biggest economy in the world, 4.3%. What that means is that Americans overall, all of us, are going to earn 4.3% more money. We're making a raise. It's a simple way to do it. We've got more jobs, lower energy costs, and lower interest rates coming. This is the golden age coming. 4.3% this quarter means Americans on average are making more money in their pocketbooks. That makes for a great Christmas.
He literally sounds like one of those bad car salesman commercials that you get fed to at like 3 a.m. in the morning. That's the exact delivery that you would say, oh, this guy's trying to scam me. Well, guess what? That guy right there that you just listened to, he's trying to scam you.
Yeah, they think you're stupid. They think you're stupid, right? I mean, come on. And by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Lutnick lived next to Epstein's townhouse and then ended up buying the Epstein townhouse that was previously owned by Jeffrey Epstein. Just a weird connection. Remember that podcast he did with the New York Post? I think it was with Miranda Devine at the New York Post or something, where he spoke about going to Epstein's house and he said, oh, it's disgusting and da-da-da-da. And then he's like, I have no doubt that high-profile associates of Jeffrey Epstein participated in activities with Jeffrey Epstein, bad activities with Jeffrey Epstein. I have no doubt about it. And people who are denying that fact, it's because they were involved. I'm like, did you just hear what you just said? Do you know who your boss is? This is like, what's happening here?
Yeah, look, energy prices are obviously up. We all know. You've looked at your bills lately, you know that the energy prices are significantly up. We know that jobs are down 54%. Isn't it interesting that when you get the data that doesn't come from the government, and you actually start looking at private sources that report the data, that you actually get to see, oh, wait a minute, these private sector jobs are down. That's interesting. But when it comes to the Trump regime data, it's all, manipulated anyway. They think you're stupid. You're not. We're not. And we're going to stand up to this regime every step of the way. All right, let's take our last quick break of the show. Home stretch coming up. A reminder, make sure you hit subscribe here. Become a member right now of the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. And on Christmas, why don't you give the gift to other people who can't maybe afford a membership here? So you just click join. You can gift as many memberships as you can to others. That's a great way to help grow this channel and give others a gift to her in this.
Can I say this? A great gift to us if you're watching this. That's go into our Substack, MeidasPlus.com, and also add the MeidasTouch podcast on audio platforms. It helps more than you know. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts, search the MeidasTouch podcast, add it. If you've already done that, leave a 5-star review. It really, really, really helps the show. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody. We're going to be right back after this quick break. Do not go anywhere.
If you're like me, instead of learning to skateboard, you wish you were learning to write code. Instead of scraping through college, you wish you bought Bitcoin at less than a cent or secured a few Nvidia shares before they boomed. We might be the FOMO generation, but don't miss out on protecting your future. For around the same price per month as one of your streaming services, you can break our generational cycle and secure your and your family's future by finding life insurance at SelectQuote.com. If you're new to life insurance, you're not alone. Thankfully, I found SelectQuote. For over 40 years, SelectQuote has helped more than 2 million Americans understand their options and get the coverage they need. Over $700 billion in coverage and counting. As a broker, their mission is simple: to find you the right life insurance policy at the best price. SelectQuote takes the guesswork out of finding the right life insurance policy. You don't have to sort through dozens of confusing options on your own. Instead, one of their licensed agents will find the right policy at the right price for you, comparing plans from trusted, top-rated insurance companies to find a policy that fits your health, your lifestyle, and your budget. And they work for you for free. You'll be covered faster than you think. SelectQuote works with providers who offer same-day coverage up to $2 million worth with no medical exam required. And you're not out of luck if you have a pre-existing health conditions, because SelectQuote partners with companies that offer policies for people with conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart disease. SelectQuote makes life insurance simple. Even if this is your first time thinking about it, head to SelectQuote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Life insurance is never cheaper than it is today. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Life insurance is never cheaper than it is today. Get the right life insurance for you for less and save more than 50% at SelectQuote.com/Meidas. Save more than 50% on term life insurance at SelectQuote.com/Meidas today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/Meidas.
Look, starting a new business can be intimidating. I get it. MeidasTouch Network was not built overnight. You need the tools to help you engage in the day-to-day tasks, the growth. And so it's why we use Shopify. It made things easy for us. And I think you should use Shopify too. So Shopify is a commerce platform. It is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. From household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands like the MeidasTouch Network. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style, accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Even if you don't, easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling to the MeidasTouch Network. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert. And with its world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond, you can count on Shopify. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. So turn your big business idea into boom, boom, boom with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at Shopify.com/Meidas. Go to Shopify.com/Meidas. One more time. That's Shopify.com/Meidas.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, how's your Christmas, buddy?
My Christmas is great. I want to spread Christmas joy. I want to spend time with the Meidas Mighty and my family and brothers, everybody around. It's a time to spread joy, to spread love.
You don't want to do the Christmas PJs.
Yeah, exactly. You got nice Christmas PJs there, but it's a time where in the past you'd have great PJs. You'd have leaders, former presidents, governors, posting photos with their family, right? Saying Merry Christmas, wishing everybody the best as we reflect on the season. We wish you, how happy and a healthy, just say nice words, right? Pretty basic. But what we've been living with for the last 10 plus years in the United States is Donald Trump and this Trumpism and this behavior, which I've described before as frankly loser behavior that's been normalized, evil behavior that's never been really called out as that's evil. That's bad. That's not how we should behave. Right? Like no one speaks about it like they talk about, the Republican. No. This isn't a Democrat, Republican, independent thing. These are bad humans. These are bad people. These are people who behave in ways that in normal times, a civilized society would say, this is not civilized. This is not how human beings should act. With Donald Trump as the leader of this MAGA mush movement, whatever you want to call it, it's been viewed incorrectly through a framework of political prisms. And that's the wrong way to look at it. I think one of the things that MeidasTouch does is say, stop with that framework. You have to look at it as evil behavior and call it out and call out the morality, call out the despicable conduct. I mean, this is what this guy's doing on Christmas. He posts Merry Christmas to all, including radical left scum that is doing everything possible to destroy our country, but are failing badly. We no longer have open borders, men and women's sports, transgender for everyone, or weak law enforcement. And then he goes on to say that that there's no inflation. He goes, there's lowest crime numbers in decades, no inflation, he says, and tariffs have given us trillions of dollars. Just things that are obviously false. And then he goes on to say, this is what he's reposting on Christmas, as tens of millions of Americans are worried that they're not going to be able to get on their health care exchange from the Affordable Care Act plans that they're used to because they can't afford it with the subsidies not being extended by MAGA controlling all branches of government. Trump posts, it's time to abolish the Barack Obama Affordable Care Act. That's what you're posting. It's time to abolish the Barack Obama Affordable Care Act. The election was stolen. Trump was correct, he writes. Then he goes on to post about how former President Obama needs to be prosecuted. The people demand accountability. Obama should be charged and prosecuted. And by the way, none of this will get covered anywhere other than here. Well, you won't see a line about it in the New York Times. Setting aside even buried on page 20. You won't even see it. It's not even a thing they talk about. Why? Because they've so normalized that this is how he is. So why do we cover just who he is? It's not newsworthy. What's newsworthy is you have an evil regime, an authoritarian regime that should be covered as such. And the question is will authoritarianism define us or be a horrific blip in our history? And I think it needs to be discussed in those terms right there. Tell you how they're talking about us in Europe. French General Nicolas Rochot. The USA are now systemic adversaries. Systemic adversaries. Similar measures banning entry into their area is essential unless one is willing to drop one's pants. The problem is many in Europe only listen to their courage, which generally doesn't tell them much. We need to treat America like an enemy, is what the generals are saying over there. You've got everybody from the deputy prime minister and prime ministers of places like Poland and the European Union Commission and French President Emmanuel Macron. They have to post, we stand in solidarity with Denmark against the United States. We respect Denmark and the sovereignty of Greenland, which is still part of the Kingdom of Denmark, after the Trump regime continues to talk about conquering it. The United States is imposing sanctions against Europe while lifting sanctions against Russia and against real free speech, civil rights, humanitarian icons in Europe. like they're, like some people who are viewed in Europe as heroes against discrimination are being sanctioned by US and banned by our State Department.
They always use that Soviet style language as well to justify all these things. Like they will attack free speech and they will present it as we are protecting free speech. It's that 1984 framing that we were talking about earlier in the show. And that's what Donald Trump and this administration does when they do all of this stuff. And so the sanctions story, I think, is honestly one of the biggest stories, maybe of the administration, but it's such a massive story that happened this week that sort of went under the radar because, rightfully so, of the Epstein files, but also because of the chaos that the DOJ and their handling of the Epstein files. But these sanctions, I mean, it basically, when you look at it, also it kind of also stems from the fact that these that the EU fined X, aka, formerly Twitter, Elon Musk's social media app, fined them like $140 million, basically, because they were breaking European law. They were breaking European law on deceptive advertising practices. Their verification system violated the law because it was presenting verified figures who were not actually the figures behind the account. It was duping people. There was all this disinformation that they allowed to, because what Elon Musk and all these authoritarians around the world want to do is they want to be able to weaponize social media and control the flow of information the same way that they do here in the United States. They want to be able to do that everywhere else. And so because there was this fine that was imposed by the EU on Elon Musk on X, the United States government retaliated basically in defense of Elon Musk, in defense of the world's richest man. So if you needed any additional proof that the United States is an oligarchy, well, here you have it. The full weight of the United States government, our trade system, sanctions being levied basically to protect the world's richest man. That's where this all stems from. And they're sanctioning these figures. They're threatening EU officials who are in the United States with deportation, and has been said, simultaneously loosening sanctions, removing sanctions from Russia. And the irony, of course, of all of this is that Russia and a lot of these countries that Donald Trump is basically, bending the knee to at everywhere you look, they literally ban Twitter. They ban these social media apps outright. They don't even allow them to exist. People need to try to figure out, how do I access this? Maybe a VPN, whatever. How do I get it? They don't even allow people to go on these platforms. And you just think about what this regime has done and the censorship that happens here at home. This has been the most anti-free speech regime that we have ever seen in United States history. And they present themselves as these warriors of free speech. It is so utterly backwards. I mean, just think of what they did by banning these news organizations from the press room and installing these MAGA loyalists in the Pentagon, and all you could go list by list by list, attacking students for writing op-eds. This is an anti-free speech regime, and they are trying to act like they are bringing free speech to the world. It's just such a backwards thing. And that disinformation and the platforms like X and other platforms that these billionaires own are all part of pushing that disinformation and spreading these 1984 style lies.
It's also why it's so important too that independent media, is just more important than ever before. And so we take great pride here at the MeidasTouch Network of this community, this pro-democracy community. There are others doing incredible work as well. And we really all need our collective voices in this time to push back against this regime. We say all the time here at the MeidasTouch Network, one sec, bro. We say we are not going anywhere. As long as we have the microphone and as long as they don't pry it from our hands, which they would have to do, we're not leaving. This network marches on, and it's too important at this point for the collective we here, for any one of us to stop. And so I just want to use this moment to just thank our audience for using your individual platforms that you all have to advocate for the pro-democracy causes. Sorry, Brett, go ahead.
I'll just put it this way, Jordy. Did you ever imagine that in 2025 in the United States of America, that people, millions of people, would be rushing to try to find a bootleg copy of a 60-minute segment that did not air and watching a bootleg version of a news report on what our government was doing to migrants. I think that right there alone sums up where we are at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that in 2025, you would have the governor of Louisiana appointed as a special envoy to Greenland for the purpose of acquiring it, of annexing it, invading it, and then going on a state regime media and talking about why the United States wants to invade and take it over? Do we have Jeff Landry, the governor of Louisiana, who has, by his own admission, he posted, "I have been appointed the special envoy for purpose of making Greenland part of the USA." And then he goes on state regime media and says the following.
Obviously, you're now appointed as special envoy. With comments like that, President Trump has certainly made it very clear that he has a great interest in Greenland. What is going to happen next? Will you travel there? Will negotiations begin? Because I did see the Danish Prime Minister saying that he does not want to get on board with this.
Well, the one thing I can tell you, Griff, is everyone in Louisiana now wants to go to Greenland for summer. It gets real hot in Louisiana, and everywhere I go in Louisiana now, the question I'm asked is, can you take me to Greenland with you, Governor? When do you go? Please let me know. I want to go. It really is. And you know what's amazing is over a year ago, no one was talking about Greenland, okay? The whole time, Russian subs would circle Greenland. The whole time, the Chinese would pluck rare earths out of the Western Hemisphere. Then all of a sudden, we have the election of President Donald Trump. He comes in and says, you know what? The Monroe Doctrine is a real thing. We need to protect America's interests in those countries and territories in the Western Hemisphere. And again, Europe's just ignoring Greenland at the time. I mean, they don't even have first-class status at the UAE. This is an opportunity for Greenland to be invited to an economic table with the United States, the strongest, most advanced economy in the world. And we care. We care about them with the fastest security route to give them the security and the protection. It's about an hour away from the.
This is what an abuser sounds like. That's the language that Putin and Lavrov use about Ukraine. You belong to us. You're part of us. You're part of our territory. You know, he references the Monroe Doctrine there, you know, and this idea that Trump has that if you're in the West, this is how Trump and Rubio have described the world. Western Hemisphere belongs to the U.S. Everything else are vassal states. They must bend the knee. Canada belongs to the U.S., Mexico, Central, South America, Greenland. That's the U.S. Europe belongs to Russia, and then Asia belongs to China. If you understand that that's how they see the world, everything makes sense. That's how Trump and Putin see the world, and Xi Jinping. That's the plan. And the discussions about conquering Greenland again come at the same time, where Russia's special envoy was in Miami meeting with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. And so these are the conversations that they're having behind the scenes. You've got that one. Go after Greenland. We get Ukraine. We get this one. And by the way, if you take a look at what's happening in Ukraine right now, you have Zelensky winning some major battles with his incredible drone forces against Putin. And Putin's out there in a very Trumpian fashion, claiming that he's taking over territory that he's not. Like Putin's out there saying that Russia controls this area called Kupiansk, and they're making great advances in Ukraine. 2 weeks ago, Zelensky went to Kupiansk. He had to do a video of himself there while he's there himself. The leader of Ukraine goes to the area that Russia claimed it was occupying. He goes, we took it back. This is ours. We staved off Russia. And Russia uses those tactics of like, it's the same exact language that Trump uses, that Orban uses, that Bukele uses. It's an authoritarian playbook that's international in scope, that is reactionary and responsive to centuries of liberalism, of neoliberalism, of enlightened thinking, of a pushback against authoritarianism. That's, you know, there are broader forces at play here. And when we adjust our framework to understand that this is international authoritarianism trying to reroute itself after the expansion of democracies for some centuries. And now authoritarianism wants to do that. And with AI, with the quantity of information, it has actually eroded the quality of information. And so you're back to a situation where authoritarians say, aha, the information disparity between the lords and the peasants, as they see it, is very feudal in nature. And we could create that dynamic again because the expansiveness of info allows for there to be proliferation of disinfo. So when they're doing the sanctions against Europe, you have to, again, expand the horizons of the way we think about things. Europe wants to protect against bots and disinfo and all of the things that Musk claimed he was against, but was actually for, in order to spread disinfo for the 2024 election, what all these right-wing oligarchs want to do. So the authoritarians internationally see what Europe is doing to try to preserve and protect its democracies as a threat. So they weaponize it by saying that they're free speech absolutists, when what they really want to do is flood the zone with bots and lies and foreign disinformation to erode the democracies there. That's the fight that we have right now. And I think that's how we have to expand our way of looking at it. And that's not captured in how regular news talks about things. So I'll leave everybody with this. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, happy spending time together. If you don't, just happy, relax a little bit, and let's regroup, let's recharge, and let's make 2026 a year of accountability for this regime. That's what I got to say before I go. Brett?
Jordy, take us away.
Midas Mighty. Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.